Recent clinical observations reveal that over 40% of adults above 55 experience intermittent sensory disruptions in their hands and arms, yet most dismiss these warning signs until irreversible damage occurs. These aren't minor inconveniences, they're early indicators that critical nerve pathways governing fine motor control are beginning to deteriorate. What makes this particularly concerning is how silently this progression unfolds, often mistaken for normal aging when it's actually a preventable physiological crisis. Today, I'll reveal the specific time frame within which seniors over 55 must recognize and address these nerve pathway failures to prevent permanent loss of fine motor skills and hand function. I'll also uncover two distinct symptoms that serve as reliable early warning systems for nerve pathway deterioration in seniors, symptoms that are frequently overlooked or misattributed to other conditions. But here's what most people don't realize. One of these symptoms, when it appears in a specific pattern, signals that you're approaching a critical intervention window, and there's a research-backed dietary solution that can halt this decline. Additionally, studies from major neurology research centers have identified a timing-related factor that determines whether intervention will be successful or futile, a detail I'll reveal later that could fundamentally change how you respond to these warning signs. The reason understanding this time frame is critical lies in how peripheral nerve degeneration progresses in aging adults. Unlike acute injuries that announce themselves dramatically, nerve pathway failure follows a deceptive pattern characterized by what neurologists call the silent erosion phase. During this period, which typically spans 8 to 18 months in seniors over 55, myelin sheath degradation and axonal dysfunction occur without triggering pain receptors, making the process virtually undetectable through conventional awareness. Research published by peripheral neuropathy specialists indicates that once fine motor skills show measurable decline, such as difficulty buttoning shirts or reduced grip strength, approximately 30 to 40% of a nerve fibers responsible for precise hand movements have already sustained damage. The critical intervention window exists before this threshold is crossed, typically when only sensory symptoms manifest without motor impairment. For most seniors experiencing early warning signs, this translates to a 6 to 12-month opportunity to implement neuroprotective strategies before motor function loss becomes evident. Beyond this point, recovery becomes progressively more difficult, with intervention success rates dropping significantly after the 18-month mark from initial symptom onset. Now, let's examine the two specific symptoms that signal nerve pathway failure and the scientifically validated barrier that can help preserve your fine motor skills. 1. Intermittent finger tingling. Intermittent finger tingling represents the earliest detectable warning sign that peripheral nerve pathways responsible for sensory transmission are beginning to fail in seniors over 55. This symptom occurs when myelin sheath degradation disrupts electrical signal transmission along sensory nerve fibers, causing sporadic sensory misfires that manifest as tingling, numbness, or pins and needles sensations in the fingers and hands. What makes this symptom particularly significant is its pattern of manifestation. When tingling episodes occur specifically during rest periods rather than during activity, it indicates that nerve dysfunction has progressed beyond simple compression-related issues and reflects actual structural deterioration of nerve pathways. Research from peripheral neuropathy specialists demonstrates that this specific pattern, rest-associated tingling rather than activity-induced symptoms, signals you're entering a critical 6 to 12-month intervention window where neuroprotective strategies can still prevent progression to motor impairment. The mechanism behind this symptom involves progressive loss of nerve fiber density in digital nerves, which reduces sensory acuity, and fine-touch discrimination essential for precise hand movements like buttoning shirts or handling small objects. Clinical observations indicate that seniors who experience intermittent finger tingling episodes more than 3 times weekly face significantly elevated risk of developing measurable fine motor skill decline within 12 to 18 months if intervention is delayed. This symptom matters because it provides an actionable opportunity to implement targeted nutritional interventions before irreversible motor nerve damage occurs, making early recognition and response essential for preserving long-term hand function and independence. First, when you notice intermittent tingling in your fingers, especially during rest or upon waking, immediately begin documenting the frequency, duration, and specific fingers affected, as this pattern data helps determine intervention urgency. Peripheral neurologists recommend keeping a simple symptom log, noting each episode's timing and characteristics for at least 2 weeks to establish whether the pattern suggests progressive nerve pathway dysfunction requiring immediate neuroprotective intervention. Second, avoid dismissing these sensations as temporary circulation issues or sleeping position effects, particularly if episodes recur consistently in the same fingers or hands, as this specificity indicates targeted nerve pathway involvement rather than positional compression. While intermittent finger tingling serves as the most sensitive early warning system for nerve pathway failure in seniors over 55, particularly those experiencing tingling episodes during rest periods or nighttime hours, the next symptom reveals an even more concerning development that affects fundamental strength and indicates deeper motor nerve involvement requiring immediate comprehensive intervention strategies. 2. Arm weakness without pain. Arm weakness that develops without accompanying pain represents a critical indicator that motor nerve pathways controlling muscle activation and strength are experiencing functional decline, signaling progression from purely sensory symptoms to motor involvement in peripheral neuropathy. According to motor neuron research conducted at leading neurology centers, painless arm weakness occurs when axonal dysfunction impairs the transmission of motor commands from spinal neurons to muscle fibers, resulting in reduced force generation capacity without the inflammatory signals that would typically produce pain sensations. This specific presentation, weakness without pain, distinguishes nerve pathway failure from musculoskeletal conditions like rotator cuff injuries or arthritis, which invariably produce discomfort alongside functional limitations. The timing-related factor that determines intervention success becomes critical at this stage. Neurological studies demonstrate that once motor symptoms like arm weakness become noticeable enough to interfere with daily activities, such as lifting grocery bags or opening jars, approximately 30 to 40% of motor nerve fibers have already sustained damage. This threshold represents a pivotal juncture where the effectiveness of neuroprotective interventions begins to decline sharply. Intervention initiated before motor symptoms appear shows success rates exceeding 70% in halting progression, while intervention begun after noticeable weakness develops shows success rates dropping to approximately 40 to 50%. The mechanism involves progressive motor unit loss, where individual motor neurons that innervate muscle fibers die off, reducing the total number of functional connections between nerves and muscles. Clinical data indicates that seniors who develop painless arm weakness alongside existing sensory symptoms face accelerated progression timelines, with measurable fine motor skill deterioration occurring within 6 to 12 months rather than the 12 to 18-month timeline associated with sensory symptoms alone. For seniors experiencing unexplained arm weakness without pain, particularly in tasks requiring sustained muscle engagement like holding objects overhead or carrying moderately weighted items, initiate strength monitoring by testing grip force using a bathroom scale. Press down with your palm and record the maximum reading weekly to track progression objectively. Neurologists recommend this simple home assessment because documented strength decline over consecutive weeks provides quantifiable evidence of motor nerve involvement requiring professional evaluation and immediate neuroprotective intervention. Additionally, pay particular attention to asymmetric weakness, where one arm shows noticeably reduced strength compared to the other, as unilateral presentation often indicates nerve pathway dysfunction rather than generalized age-related muscle loss, warranting more urgent clinical assessment. Though arm weakness without pain effectively signals advanced nerve pathway involvement requiring comprehensive intervention strategies, it remains most relevant for seniors over 55 experiencing progressive strength decline in daily functional tasks. While the dietary intervention discussed next targets the underlying biochemical mechanisms driving both sensory and motor nerve deterioration across all affected individuals. The one underrated berry that helps preserve fine motor skills, blueberry. Have you ever wondered why certain individuals maintain exceptional hand coordination and fine motor precision well into their 70s and 80s while others of similar age struggle with basic manual tasks? Blueberries contain an extraordinarily high concentration of anthocyanins, specifically malvidin, delphinidin, and petunidin glycosides, which clinical research has demonstrated exert potent neuroprotective effects on peripheral nerve pathways by reducing oxidative stress and inflammatory mediators that accelerate myelin degradation and axonal dysfunction. Studies conducted at the USDA Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University revealed that regular blueberry consumption significantly improved motor coordination and reduced age-related neurological decline in clinical populations, with benefits attributed to anthocyanin's ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in neural tissues where they neutralize reactive oxygen species damaging nerve cell membranes. What makes blueberries particularly effective for peripheral nerve preservation is their dual mechanism of action. Anthocyanins not only provide direct antioxidant protection to nerve cells, but also upregulate endogenous antioxidant enzyme systems like superoxide dismutase and glutathione peroxidase, creating sustained neuroprotective capacity rather than temporary symptomatic relief. The exact compound within blueberries that neurological studies have identified as most critical for nerve pathway preservation is malvidin 3-glucoside, which demonstrates the highest bioavailability among blueberry anthocyanins and shows particular affinity for peripheral nervous system tissues, where it reduces lipid peroxidation in myelin sheaths and protects axonal transport mechanisms essential for maintaining nerve fiber integrity. Research published in nutritional neuroscience journals indicates that the optimal daily amount required to achieve measurable neuroprotective effects in seniors over 55 is approximately 150 to 200 grams of fresh blueberries, equivalent to roughly 1 to 1.5 cups, which delivers approximately 300 to 400 milligrams of total anthocyanins. The threshold dose associated with significant improvements in peripheral nerve function markers and motor coordination assessments in clinical trials. The mechanism by which blueberry anthocyanins preserve fine motor skills connects directly to the core nerve pathway failures causing finger tingling and arm weakness. These compounds inhibit inflammatory cytokines like interleukin-6 and tumor necrosis factor alpha that trigger Schwann cell dysfunction, the specialized cells responsible for producing and maintaining myelin sheaths around peripheral nerve fibers. To incorporate the recommended amount of blueberries into your daily routine effectively, consume 1 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries with breakfast, added to oatmeal, yogurt, or smoothies, and an additional ½ cup as an afternoon snack, ensuring consistent anthocyanin delivery throughout the day for optimal neuroprotective coverage. Peripheral nutrition specialists emphasize that frozen blueberries retain 90 to 95% of their anthocyanin content compared to fresh berries, making them an equally effective and often more economical option for year-round consumption. For seniors who find the quantity challenging due to taste preferences or dietary restrictions, consider blending blueberries into protein smoothies with Greek yogurt and banana, which masks the berry flavor while maintaining the full neuroprotective benefit and adding complementary nutrients that support overall neurological health. If you're new here and would love to join the Health Waiver community for free, where we share tailored health tips specifically designed for seniors just like you, please subscribe to stay connected. We'd also love to hear from you. Comment below with your age and how your health has been lately. Your experiences help us create content that truly matters to you. While blueberries deliver broad-spectrum neuroprotective benefits suitable for all seniors experiencing early signs of nerve pathway dysfunction, they prove most effective for individuals over 55 showing predominantly sensory symptoms like intermittent finger tingling, where early intervention with concentrated anthocyanin intake can prevent progression to motor involvement and preserve fine motor capabilities for years to come.